in the world. It allows people who aren't here legally to be able to go on television and wax poetic about what the soul of an American is when they are breaking the basis that allows that soul to flourish. President Obama going on message today, and by the way, how can you see the difference between President George W. Bush and the way that President Obama is in how they are choosing to act when they are out of office? President George W. Bush didn't say boo about President Obama and his policies. President Obama, within minutes, within hours, goes on the offensive about ending DACA and talks about this being an issue of basic decency. This is whether we are a people who kick hopeful young strivers, I should say, out of America, or, treat them the way that our kids should be treated, etc., etc., etc. Could you imagine if President George W. Bush would have done things like this during the Obama presidency? The uproar, the rage that would be coming from the left for something like that. I'm trying to understand what the rationale is of this quote-unquote resistance to Trump when all he's doing, and in this case, what he's doing is putting separation of powers back to where it should be. We are putting the power of Congress. I can't believe I have to explain this like a Schoolhouse Rock special. We're putting the power of Congress back with Congress. We're putting the power of the presidency back to where it should be, taking a step back from executive power overreach. And yes, it may be admirable to do such an overreach in the name of being compassionate, in the name of basic decency, as President Obama wants to put it. But my goodness, the rule of law has to stand for something. Forgive me for being, sticking to this point so much, but let's look again. If this is really, as President Obama says, about who we are as a people, then we have to be about protecting our people here, politically and economically speaking, from those who are breaking the law and stealing opportunity from people who were born here and who are U.S. citizens. This is what decency is about. You want to be decent to someone who's breaking the laws and coming in here with children. I get you want to be decent to children. But where's your decency when it comes to the unemployed lower-class family who lost that opportunity to get that job or to get that slot in a school for their child? Where's your decency then, President Obama? You want to be decent for these people because you know, politically speaking, they're going to be on your side once you do that. We saw with Hillary Clinton's campaign, undocumented citizens for Hillary and all that other nonsense. But all you've done is left us a big mess to figure out. And what President Trump has done, in my opinion, has put us on the path to cleaning up that mess. Congress does nothing without a deadline. If you let Congress just go off and put up forth their own agenda, they'll never put this at the top of their agenda. By giving a 6-month window here, President Trump has drawn his line in the sand proverbially, and he's saying, this is what we're going to do, Congress. We're getting rid of this. You're working without a net now. You have to solve this problem, or you will be leaving 800,000 people in a world of hurt. And we'll have no choice but to follow the laws that are on the books. That's what it comes down to. When we see, President Trump talking about this, he's talking about the 6-month period, and I'm trying to understand where exactly we are seeing this overreaction of all these people are going to be, gone tomorrow. It's not happening, folks. The hysteria and the hyperbole from people like we heard on MSDNC in the previous segment, it's not coming true. You don't see that happening at all with this legislation. Proposed legislation, we hope, coming from Congress, but the repeal of this executive order. When you do things in a way that doesn't solve a problem, just kicks the can down the road, you end up with a non-solution and a bigger problem than what you started with. That's what President Obama left for us. This was a Band-Aid over a gaping wound that didn't do anything to help the wound. The wound just festered and grew. And now we're left with a political football that Democrats are going to say are distracting from real problems and real issues. Republicans are going to say that we should be focusing on tax reform and all this. And in the meantime, the 6 months are going to tick by, and we'll be left with another political football created by Congress this time, thanks to President Obama's really executive overreach, you want to call it? Fine. I want to call it a blunder. President Trump is trying to set things right, and we'll see if Congress is going to act in the correct manner. That's going to do it for this week's show, folks. It's time for our final thought. Final thought this week. We just got done seeing what Hurricane Harvey did to the Gulf Coast. Now we have Hurricane Irma hitting the Caribbean and heading towards Florida. And, those of you in Florida and Georgia who may be in the track of this storm that you're listening to this show, stay strong, but stay smart. If you hear that this storm's coming at you and you're hearing evacuation warnings, go. Go someplace safe. Come further north if you need to. Having lived through Superstorm Sandy and the evacuation warnings and my family not leaving, and knowing how lucky we were that we were able to maintain power, the only house on our block to maintain power on the block, and to be able to ride out the storm, unlike some others who had their first floors covered with storm water and flooding and all this. And I don't want to relive it, but you get what I'm saying. Be smart. Be safe. Be strong. Property comes and goes. Things come and go. That's not what your life is defined by. If this storm's coming at you and they're saying to go. Please be safe. We want you to listen next week, the week after, and many weeks to come to Behind Enemy Lines Radio. And the only way you can do that is to be smart about this storm. We're praying for you in Florida as the storm, arcs towards Georgia, possibly. Definitely, we're praying for you. Be smart, be safe, and we hope you tune in next week and for many weeks to come. And that'll about do it for this week's show. I know it seemed like a long time, but we got through it, right? A lot of heavy stuff, this DACA stuff, and, storms coming at us and all this other stuff. I want to thank you guys for listening to the show. Next week, we get Russ back. We get our 9/11 show and our tribute to those heroes. 17 years. I can't believe how long. It's only 17 years. It feels like a blink of an eye, but it also feels so long ago. We'll get into that next week. But for now, it's time to shut this sucker down. Gene Baradelli, Behind Enemy Lines. Thanks for listening to the show from the People's Republic of New York. We are out of here. Good night, folks.
Our position has been compromised. It's time to roll out. Report for debriefing at www.behindenemylinesradio.us and look for regular communications via Facebook and Twitter at BEL_radio. You are the resistance. Behind Enemy Lines. A rock radio production. Copyright 2016. Back in 7 days. Out.